Welcome back, everybody, to Ein Sof Learning. In today's video, we're going to go over a beginner's guide to Talmud Eser HaSefirot, which is the wisdom of the 10 Sefirot, the 10 dimensions of consciousness, which are brought forth in the Kabbalistic framework. We know that there are 10 levels to reality, and these 10 Sefirot are the way that we understand them. The entire study of Kabbalah is really pertaining to spiritual matters that don't pertain to any sort of time or space or motion. So I want to take you to Histalkut Pinimit of the Talmud Eser Sefirot Part 1, where Rav Ashlag is preparing us for learning about the wisdom of spirituality and some things to look out for as a beginner. First, we need to know that whenever we're dealing with spiritual matters, they have no concern with time and space and motion. These are simply irrelevant in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Moreover, when we're dealing with godliness, we do not have the words, we don't even have the vocabulary by which to express and contemplate these concepts. So, if you look at the physical world, the language that we speak in this world, right, our entire vocabulary is taken from sensations that we make for ourselves in our imagination. Our imagination, imaginary senses. It doesn't mean it's not real, or it doesn't mean it's not true, right? But the idea is that the vocabulary that we use is subjective to our imaginary senses that we perceive through our sensations. Thus, how can they assist us? How can they possibly assist us whenever we are dealing with material that does not pertain to senses and our imagination? The wisdom of spirituality is above the senses, it's above the imagination. Therefore, the wisdom of Kabbalah, in many ways, requires a different language. For example, let's say you take the most simple word, right? Light. The concept of light, right? It nonetheless resembles and borrows from the light of the sun. The word light refers to us to the light of the sun. But nevertheless, it is a spiritual word that is utilized in this wisdom, the concept of or, spiritual light. But we have to use some sort of a word to refer to this spiritual item called light. But the word light has many connotations, like we're saying. It might sound like it's an emotional type of light, like pleasure. I feel satisfaction. So how can they be used to express godly matters? Because all of the vocabulary that we use in this world would fail to provide the reader, meaning us learning this wisdom, with anything true. Because the physical world is one level of reality. The spiritual world is a higher level of reality. In fact, the physical world is the lowest level, while the spiritual, they contain many levels. But the higher you go up in terms of states of consciousness, the closer you're getting to the oneness, to the ultimate truth and unity that underlies the creation. In any research of wisdom, right, there's a definition, there's a textbook of a vocabulary with any wisdom. Let's say you want to talk about science, or you want to talk about mathematics. There's a set of vocabulary terms that the professionals or the experts of that wisdom got together and established the rules and definitions of the terminologies that they are using in that wisdom. So the same thing is here with Kabbalah, that there's a different wisdom, there's a different language, there's a different language that the Kabbalists utilize when communicating about spiritual matters. But they borrow from the words that you might think that you understand. That's why many times you will open up a Kabbalah book, even if you know Hebrew perfectly, you will still not understand the subject matter. You might think you understand it, but unless you have been trained in the code and in the spiritual root, meaning the essence of that word, then you don't know the spiritual meaning behind it, and therefore you don't know what the Kabbalists are really saying. You only understand it according to what you understand. So If we fail with even a single inadequate word, then the people who are learning this wisdom, they're going to be instantly confused, disoriented, and they're not going to find their hands or their legs in this entire matter. They're not going to know what's what. So for this reason exactly, the sages of Kabbalah have chosen a special language which we can call Sfat Anafim, the language of Anafim, branches. The language of branches. This is the name that the Kabbalists have chosen to give to this language, which is the entire language that they use in their books. The books of Kabbalah are written in this secret language called the language of branches. So there is no such thing as an essence or a conduct in this world, in this physical world, that does not begin with a source in the upper world. Every single thing that exists in this world, this physical, lowly world, does not exist without its source being in the upper worlds. That means everything in this world is rooted in the upper worlds. Everything. So therefore they say that this is the world of branches, while the upper worlds are the world of the roots. There's no such thing as anything in this world that isn't rooted in the upper worlds. Moreover, the beginning of every being, I'm a being, you're a being, animals are beings as well. The beginning of every being in this world starts from the upper world, and then it hangs down to this world. That's the way the Kabbalists explain, that it is hanging down from the upper worlds, and that for that reason it is also located in the physical, in this lowly world, but it's hanging down from the upper world because it is rooted in the upper dimensions. We know that even in science, they theorize that there may or may not be upper dimensions of time and space. This is exactly what we're talking about here. The Sefirot are the diagram that the Kabbalists have chosen to depict the order of the dimensions within this world. Every single dimension refers to a state of consciousness, because at the end of the day, everything is consciousness. Everything is consciousness. That's why if we read just the first sentence of the Tree of Life by the Arizal, we learn immediately that at the beginning, meaning before the creation, there was only one thing that existed, and we call it Or Ein Sof, the endless light. What is endless light? It is God's consciousness. The endless light is God's consciousness, and that is existing before the creation. Therefore, everything that comes after the creation is a contraction of that light, meaning a contraction of that consciousness. Therefore, everything exists on a spectrum of consciousness, including the physical world, which lies at the bottom of this chain, which is the vessel for the upper dimensions of the consciousness. That means the body, the physical body, which exists in the physical world, is the vessel for all of the upper dimensions of the consciousness, which are destined and meant to be revealed within this world, within the body. So I think that is pretty clear, that we exist on a chain of worlds. Each world denotes a concealment of the consciousness, the level of consciousness that exists above. Therefore, the creation of the world was a concealment of the endless light of God. That's why the root of the word olam is ha'elam, to conceal, to hide. Because the creation of the olam was really the creation of a concealment of what existed before the creation, which is the endless light of God. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into understanding this language. The Kabbalists have taken the names of the branches in this world, because this is the world of branches. Everything that exists here is a branch. So they have taken the names of the branches of this world, where each name is self-explanatory, as though pointing to its upper source in the system of the upper worlds. What does that mean? For example, if you take the word water, in Hebrew, the word water is maim, spelled mem, yud, mem. The word maim is self-explanatory in the wisdom of Kabbalah, because the letters mem, yud, and mem, in that order, with that form, with those vowels, with the crowns on top of the letters, with the pronunciation of those letters, contain the secret of what that item is. This is what sets the language of Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue, the holy language of Hebrew, into a special language. That's what makes it special apart from every other language. That it is hidden within the word itself, the secret of what that word means. Not just through symbolism, not just through metaphor, but through divine creation. That God actually created the world through the Hebrew letters, and they are the building blocks of this world. That's why if you look at the tree of life, you will find 10 sefirot, but 22 lines corresponding to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet that bring all these 10 sefirot together into an integrated whole. That's why these 10 sefirot work together in order to bring about the tikkun, the correction, the rectification of this lowly world to whom the souls of Israel were sent to carry out this correction. The souls of Israel were sent down to this exiled world in order to rectify it, which means to reveal the light within this vessel. Because without a vessel, there is no revelation of light. And that's really what it all is about. That's why the word Kabbalah literally means to receive. Because it is not about just, receiving the tradition. Yes, that's also one of the reasons why Kabbalah is called receiving, because it is a received tradition. But more so, because we are learning how to receive the light of God through preparing our vessel during the 6 days of the week. When do you receive? When do you engage in the act of Kabbalah, which means receiving? Every Shabbat. 6 days you shall work to build the vessel, but on the 7th day you rest, which means you will receive the menucha, the light, the kedusha, according to the size of the vessel that you have built during the 6 days. And when enough Jewish people fulfill this mission, the Messiah, who we call Moshiach, the anointed one of Israel, will be revealed within the land, and the nation of Israel will be revived, not just its body, but the soul of Israel will be revived. This is what's happening right now. Through the dissemination of the wisdom of Kabbalah, the soul of Israel is awakening every single day more and more. The light of the Torah is the only way to get in contact with Hashem, because Hashem is in contact with you at all times. But are you able to receive the message or not? That's what it comes down to. Whether or not you have built the vessel to receive that information, that message, or not. People don't believe it, but it's true. God communicates with you every second, every moment. It's just a matter of whether or not you get the message. We are receivers, but whether you receive the message depends on the vessel, depends on you. So this should appease your mind regarding the very confusing expressions that we often find in the books of Kabbalah. You know, a lot of these concepts are foreign to the human spirit. The reason is because once they've chosen the language to express themselves, they couldn't leave a branch unused because of its inferior degree. They couldn't avoid using it to express the desired concept when our world suggests no other branch to be taken in its place. Just as two strands of hair, do not feed off of the same foramen. That means the same two strands of hair don't come from the same root. They each have their own root. So too, we do not have two branches that relate to the same source. It is impossible to exterminate the object in the wisdom that is related to that inferior expression. Such a loss, if you were to separate the branch from the source, would inflict impairment and confusion in the entire realm of the wisdom, since there's not another wisdom in the world where matters are so intermingled, they are so woven together through cause and effect. The wisdom of Kabbalah is a unified system. Everything correlates to each other. Everything is connected. It becomes revealed how everything is connected through this study. So for that reason, we don't have the freedom of will to switch and replace the bad names with the better names, because it's not about the names. It's about learning the secret of the name. Not the simple meaning, but the sod, which is the roots. And that's the entire wisdom of Kabbalah that's written in this language, which is why we're learning Talmud Etzer Sefirot, because in this Sefer, called The Study of the 10 Sefirot, we are actually learning and being exposed to the language that the Kabbalists have used for centuries, for thousands of years. Whoever's eyes haven't been opened to the sights of heaven, if we don't know what it looks like, what it feels like to be connected to the upper worlds, which we are connected to them, but if we don't know what it feels like, if we're not remembering what it really means to be in the upper worlds, and we haven't acquired the proficiency in the connections of the branches of this world with their roots in the upper worlds, we're compared to blind people. The Kabbalists call us blind. We're like blind people scraping the walls, that we don't know what's going on. We don't understand the true meaning of even a single word, for each word is a branch that relates to its source. Therefore, without the wisdom of Kabbalah, a person does not understand the Torah at all. At all. According to this explanation, without understanding the root of that branch, it is not considered that you understand it at all, because you don't understand the true meaning of even a single word. The true meaning is the sod. Only if you receive an interpretation from a genuine sage who makes himself available to you to explain it in the spoken language, which is literally like translating it from one language to another language, right? From the language of branches to the spoken language that we have in this physical world. Only then can a person be able to explain the spiritual term as it is. But you need a teacher. This wisdom is not something you can do on your own. You need a teacher who is already proficient in this study that can help relay or translate, because again, like we said, the language of branches is a different language. So they need to translate. Not just explain, but translate the words from the Kabbalistic language into the spoken language in the physical world. That's exactly how it is. I know it sounds insane. It might even sound a little bit like the Matrix. But this is exactly where we live. We live in the Matrix. So we need somebody who understands the system, somebody who has acquired the knowledge, acquired the experience to guide us through the study. Of course, I'm not claiming or pretending to be one of those people. I have not yet opened up my eyes to the heavens. I have not yet understood the language of branches in its entirety. But I'm here learning with my own rabbi on the side, and every now and then I share what I learn, which is incumbent upon every learner of this wisdom to share everything that they learn, because it's not enough to save yourself. How could you dare save yourself whenever the 99% of the world, they're left in the dark? Is there anything more selfish than that? I don't think so. So that's what Rav Ashlag has trouble to do in this interpretation, in this book, to explain the 10 Sefirot, the 10 dimensions, as the godly sage, the Arizal, HaKadosh, Ari HaKadosh, had instructed us in their spiritual purity, that is devoid of any physical terminology, devoid of any tangible terms. Thus, any beginner in this wisdom can approach the wisdom, can approach the book without falling in any materialization and mistake, if they stick to the order of the study. Because this is a program. If you stick with the program, you're going to make it. And we will make more videos about it in the future to determine why it is more relevant than ever before to learn this wisdom today, as opposed to any other time in history. It is more urgent and more necessary for this wisdom to become revealed, specifically among the nation of Israel, but among any seeker of truth, any seeker of the light of God. This is the only way that I can really confidently say that a person will reach those levels and manifest their potential. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the comments section or in the next video.